Welcome back to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. Brian Grady and Chip Nellinger rejoining us. Brian, when you look at China buying, there was more buys this week. Is it changing our export picture at all? Are we still swimming in corn right now?
Well, corn, the export side of things is up year over year for corn. On the soybean side of things, we're still down year over year, and interestingly, China had its SRW wheat buying spree. Now it's on to soybeans over the past week here, and we haven't seen China come in as an active corn buyer yet. Been little purchases here and there on the weekly data, but nothing on a daily basis, so to speak.
Chip, are you worried about our global exports when it comes to soybeans?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, Brian mentioned here before the break, we've seen them become much more competitive on the bean side of the equation. And that's something longer term that's a little bit of a fear of ours as well, is even if you cut the Brazilian crop back a little bit, Argentina bounces back with an average crop. They've got more beans year over year in the Southern Hemisphere, even with production problems in Brazil. So there's no doubt they are a force to be reckoned with. They're putting big crops out, and it's cutting into our competitiveness and our exports. That's just something we're going to have to get used to going forward. I think maybe a bright spot on the bean side is this renewable, diesel market that we have kind of popped up here the last couple of years. There's more and more of those plants coming online, so our domestic crush is going to increase and offset a little bit of that. Long answer though, no question, South America, Brazil, and Argentina both going to be very competitive and a force to be reckoned with going forward from our perspective.
Well, Chip mentioned bright spot in soybeans, but bright spot in all commodities this year had been cattle prices. I mean, we saw new contract highs. Now we just continue to fall. What is pressuring these cattle prices, Brian?
Well, there rarely hasn't been a fundamental change. You can go back and look at the October cattle on feed report, and it surprised everybody with the placements number being as big as it was. We followed that up in November with another big placements number, but really the fundamentals haven't changed. It was simply a movement of money and money flow. Funds at long-standing positions in the cattle market, they decided to get out, and they got out in a big way, and that big money flow really put a top in that market, and now we're searching for a bottom. We're searching for a bottom not only in the futures but also the cash market, because the future sell-off had a big impact on cash cattle prices.
We're still searching for a bottom. Chip, do you think the highs in the cattle market are in?
I do think that they're in, just simply because of what Brian said. The money flow situation, it was a very bullish fundamental situation for 2 years. The funds made a ton of money being long in both cattle and feeders. They got essentially out of that entire position. And when you see that type of a money flow switch and the sheer amount that we broke from the highs in live cattle and feeder cattle, it's hard for a market to kind of reverse and go into new highs. All that being said, you could still have really sharp rallies, get back half or 2/3 of what we have lost here. But I think it's going to be a real uphill battle getting the funds back involved on the long side enough to push us into new highs. I think we have 50% retracement, maybe 2/3, 62% retracement of this most recent break. But I think we better sharpen our pencil and be ready to hedge that when we see it going into the first quarter.
Brian, what are your thoughts? Do you think the highs are in?
I do. I would agree with Chip on that. I wouldn't rule out that we could move to a new high in 2024. History says that on cycle highs, you go back and you retest, you get really close on the second move up. And so I anticipate that we'll see something like that. From a supply perspective, it's still going to remain bullish. The concerns are on the demand side of things, with record or near record retail beef prices here, concerns on the export side. So I think that the demand probably holds us back enough from making new highs. But I do anticipate that we will see a pretty significant rebound at some point in 2024.
All right, Brian Grady and Chip Nellinger, thank you for joining us this weekend. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on U.S. Farm Report.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Lamar's Toy Store, the largest and most diversified farm toy store in the U.S. They have new and old, and new restorations and customizations too. You need to see it to believe it. Visit lamartoystore.com or call us at 712-546-4305.